2023 has come and gone for the Power Rangers Lightning Collection, and it was not a great year for the line. Now that the line seems to seemingly be done for possibly ever, possibly just a break, we still don't really know yet. Let's take a look back at some of the best and worst figures that came out during the 5th year of the Power Rangers Lightning Collection. This year had 37 figures released for the line, which did make it more than 2022, but not nearly as much as 2021, and it was only a little bit behind 2020, so it was kind of like a good average year in terms of figure number releases. We had some really good ones this year, and honestly, it was a really solid lineup of figures. I don't really think any of the figures this year are particularly awful, but there are a couple duds in there, so let's get the negative out of the way and start with my top 5 worst Lightning Collection figures of 2023. Coming in at number 5 is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Remastered Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger figure. Now, I don't have this figure yet, and that's mainly one of the reasons why it's on the bottom of this worst list. There's no need for this one. Now, I totally get why it exists. If you're doing the rest of the remastered team for the 30th anniversary, you have to release the Pink Ranger. I totally understand that. But it's not hard at all to get a Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger in the Lightning Collection. She was released in an abundance in numerous different formats. And of course, you do get the updated Kimberly head sculpt, which some people like better than the original one, but honestly, I'm still a fan of the original Wave 2 one from 2019. So, I don't have this one yet. I'm waiting for a clearance to get it, and I feel like it's like the most undesirable Lightning Collection figure for me, but I understand why it exists, but it's why it's going to come in at my least favorite of this year. Number 4 is going to go to the In Space Silver and Silver Cycle release from Deluxe Wave 3. Now, this is technically not a bad release. It is definitely an improvement over the Time Force Blue and Vector Cycle from the Deluxe Wave 2 lineup, which I did have in my worst list last year. It's nowhere near as bad as that. But it does suffer from some of the same similar problems. The wiggly legs were definitely an issue. He has a little bit of a lack of accessories compared to his original Walgreens one, but actually being able to find this one compared to his original Walgreens release does make it worth it for a lot of people. So I'm putting it at number 4 because it's not a bad release. In fact, for a lot of people, it was a necessary release. But due to the fact that there is an In Space Silver in the past, it's a little less, and the Silver Cycle just doesn't really do much. It can't turn into the Galaxy Glider or anything like that. It just kind of sits there. It's just not the most exciting release, especially if you have the previous version. For number 3, it's going to go to the Tango Warrior 2-pack. Now, if you're kind of noticing a theme with these worst lists here, it's kind of just a lot of figures that weren't really necessary. You know, you have previous releases, which I put at the bottom, and the Tango Warriors are just the same of that. But these ones, I even don't understand more how they exist, because I don't know what they're based off of. They have this green and blue different kind of color scheme. Jordan on a fan stream mentioned it was just to have some variety for your shelf, but I don't know. The original Tango Warrior is not hard to find in any capacity, even with people army building it. You can still get it for very cheap, nearly 3 years after its original release. So I just don't feel like this was really necessary. It cost more than regular Tangas did because of the price increases since 2021. It has less accessories. I just don't see a need for this set. It's already being clearanced out at like GameStops and stuff like that. And while the figure is still fantastic, because the Tango Warrior mold is one of the best that the Lightning Collection has ever had, I just don't get the appeal with this one, like, at all. And speaking of not getting the appeal, that's where number 2 is. The entirety of the Cobra Kai figure line. Now look, these are kind of fun figures. If anybody saw my videos, which they did not do very well on them in the first place, of the Cobra Kai figures, you'd know that I've said a lot of the same things with these. I don't understand why they exist. I still never will understand why these exist. I get it. Martial arts, Power Rangers, Cobra Kai, you have a little bit of a crossover there. Similar kind of types of genres, feels, that kind of thing. And using the ninja body molds was kind of a neat idea. I just wish they were a little bit more creative. They got better as they went along, because I do think the Johnny and the Miguel ones that have the sleeveless look, which makes them at least a little bit more unique, are better. I like the skin tone hands that you could give to the original releases to kind of sort of make accurate 1995 movie figure Ninjetti forms. The Skeleputty's a lot of fun. I do genuinely like that one. But between figures that just did not do very well at all, they were clearance out of Targets almost immediately. In fact, I think I pretty much paid the price of like 2 entire figures retail for all 5 of them. Well, I would have if I didn't have to buy packaging variants of 3 of them, because I'm that kind of person. I still don't understand why that happened, why some of them had a big render, some of them had a small render. But overall, I don't know. These were the worst of the collaborations, because they weren't based off of anything. At least with TMNT in 2021, and with the Street Fighter in 2022, they were based off of pre-existing crossovers in media. This was not. And coming in at number 1 is going to be a tie between SPD Yellow and Lost Galaxy Yellow. Mainly for the fact that these figures were messed up. And if you've been following any of the Lightning Storm videos or any coverage of the Lightning Collection in 2023, you know that QC problems, consistency issues, release issues continue to be prevalent. And I think some of the best examples of just how this line continued to always fumble whenever it really had no reason to do so was with these two Yellow Rangers. They also came out at the exact same time, and so they kind of share a lot of similarities between their kind of misfortunes. With SPD Yellow, she fares better in terms of kind of matching with her team than Lost Galaxy Yellow does, but her Morpher, there was a problem with that. There was a lot of QC problems with her, with people getting duplicate accessories, no accessories, a bunch of different stuff, broken figures, that it just kind of showed all of the big problems. The SPD team is a very inconsistent one. And speaking of inconsistency, Lost Galaxy Yellow, there's technically nothing wrong with the actual figure. I think the Maya head sculpt is pretty decent. The figure looks good, but she comes with a Quasar launcher and does not come with a Quasar Saber in its extended form, which is ridiculous and kind of a cardinal sin to not include with a Lost Galaxy figure. And so because of that, even though these are both necessary figures to complete core teams, which I'm glad that they did before they froze/canceled the line, it just kind of encompasses all of the problems of the Lightning Collection, which is why they're tied for my least favorite figures of 2023. But now it's time for the fun parts, where we're going to go over my top 10 favorite figures from the Lightning Collection in 2023, and starting up at number 10 is going to be Remastered Blue. So the remastered figures were pretty solid. Honestly, if you don't have any Lightning Collection Mighty Morphin figures, these are the ones to go for. If you'd like to see a really good video in detail on how all these figures work, I highly recommend this video from RangerTube on YouTube here, where he goes in depth about the figures. Fantastic coverage on all the different Lightning Collection teams. Highly recommend that. That'll be in the description below. But the Remastered Blue figure, the reason why I put him in my top 10 is because it's a really good improvement over the previous releases. Now, the other ones kind of had, I would say, sort of marginal upgrades, like with black and with pink especially. Green and red were a whole little fiasco there. But for blue, at the time that the remasters were coming out, the original blue was the hardest figure to get of the original team, technically, because he had just become the most expensive on the aftermarket. So to have another one on the market was great. He tested out that kind of and was the first one to include the removable glasses feature, which we'll see again later on this list. And overall, I just think it turned out really solidly. I also have a bias towards Billy. He came back in Cosmic Fury, which, you know, has him kind of fresh on the mind. But I think they did a really good job of bringing Billy back to the market here, and that's why he's on my favorite list. And those removable glasses continue with number 9 on my list, which is Lost Galaxy Pink from Wave 14. So where Lost Galaxy Yellow kind of failed to deliver a proper Lost Galaxy release, this one did not. Kendrick's introduction to the line was exactly what you would want it to be, and kind of following in Kai and Damon's footsteps of being pretty much perfect, fantastic representations of those characters and what Lightning Collection was always supposed to be. I love the removable glasses. She has all the versions of the Quasar Saber she should. She has her Trans Dagger. No Quasar Launcher, but I don't really care because the rest of the team doesn't really have it. The only complaint, and it's not even a complaint, is that I wish we would have had a way to have a Corone head, but I wouldn't have expected this release to have 2 heads anyway, so that's not a fault of the figure. It was a fantastic figure, and you're going to see a lot of Wave 14 on this list because it was a really solid wave. Which brings us to our next one. Number 8 on the list is going to be Dino Thunder Black, a figure that probably people would maybe put up a little higher. Highly anticipated, highly requested figure. My personal favorite form of Tommy Oliver. I love him as Dr. O. I love the Dino Thunder Black suit. This figure, not only because of Tommy being the most popular character ever, but of course also the unfortunate passing of JDF in 2022, this figure was really sought after and has become very expensive on the aftermarket already. In fact, I never saw this hit stores. It's been sold out online for months. Obviously, this was a really wanted figure. I really don't have too many complaints about it. I think the head sculpt wasn't the absolute best, but the paint applications on the brachiostaff, if yours actually came with a gold paint on the tip, and some of them did not. So if yours actually had that, it was really great. I really don't have any problems with this one. I think the head sculpt could have been improved a little bit more, but for my favorite version of Tommy, this is exactly what I would have expected a Lightning Collection one for him to have. My only personal wants would have been a little bit more of a personalized energy orb effect piece for his Brachio staff, but the one we have works just fine. For number 7, we have Minotaur from Deluxe Wave 4. So I think this was a fantastic monster release, and as of right now, our final monster release for the Lightning Collection, in a line of figures that, of course, continuing the whole trend of them being way taller than they ever should be. I'm not going to dock the figure for that at this point, because just the monsters were always going to be in the wrong scale for whatever reason. So that aside, this figure is excellent. I adore the fact that he comes with a little clay version of himself for the Finster figure. I always like when, even though that's not technically an accessory for Finster, I mean, it can be, of course. I love when figures kind of come with accessories for other figures, kind of like the Cog with the Tonfas, that kind of thing. So the Minotaur figure was a fantastic release. Really good articulation and detail for a monster that I personally wouldn't have called one of the most popular or most requested or remembered from Mighty Morphin, but definitely served an important role in the franchise of being the first one to be defeated by the Rangers' power weapons. That's one of the reasons why I think it was picked, and I think it made a really great impression to be our final monster figure. Now, Minotaur's wave mate, Rita Repulsa, is going to be coming in at number 6 on our list here. Now, this figure is exactly what you would want from a Rita figure, and I've said this a lot in this list of this is exactly what you would want from this figure or whatever, or this one, and it's really true. I mean, that's why they're on the best list. This Rita figure is a massive improvement over the original 2021. I just reviewed it about a month ago, so I'm not going to say too much about it, but I love the swappable faces. The dress is so much better. The staff is much better painted and sculpted, and I thought the original one was perfectly fine for the time, but it actually showed that it really wasn't that great when you have it compared to the new one. Which is saying a lot for the new one, because it made me realize that the old one wasn't great. So I love this figure a lot. It's very fun. Perfect one to have with your already really good Lord Zed figures that we've had in the Lightning Collection, and I'm glad that they were able to get this one out during the anniversary year. Wave 14 returns for number 5 on our list, which is going to go to the Dino Thunder Mesogog figure. A figure that was probably the most unexpected of 2023. I didn't think we'd ever get a Mesogog figure in the line, let alone just randomly in a wave, but I love it. I love that it was paired in the wave with Dino Thunder Black, one of my favorite original monsters and favorite main villains of the Power Rangers franchise. Of course, Dino Thunder is my favorite season as well, so I was very excited for this figure. I love how it turned out. The mouth movement is fantastic. I love the effect piece that makes it look like he's doing his mental, telekinesis or mental attacks or whatever on people. I love that whole feature. The claws are great. You also have an ability to not have the claws necessarily. It's great. It's a really good figure. It poses well. It's painted very nicely. The detail is perfect. I was surprised it wasn't a store exclusive when I first heard about it, honestly. I really, really like the Mesogog figure. And I really wish we would have gotten some more villains. I would have loved his Eltrax and Tyrannodrones and Triptoids and Elsa, and would have loved it, but hey, at least we got the main guy. Number 4 is going to be the first of 2 team packs that was released in 2023, because I think both of them were very solid, and that is the Alien Rangers of Aquitar Amazon 5-pack. Very happy this happened for numerous different reasons. I'm happy Alien Rangers actually got acknowledged. They don't always get acknowledged. I'm happy that we finally got another Amazon exclusive set for the first time since 2020. And this is exactly what I would have expected it to be. It just kind of suffers from the fact that it is a multi-pack. When they do these team packs historically, they have not included civilian heads. And that's one of the main things that I really wish were present here. You do have those box issues where the art on yellow is wrong and stuff like that. So it basically, it's kind of docking the not super important pieces, because the figures themselves are really good. But you also do have some of those weird things where white is pinless, but the guys aren't. And it's just some of these things where it's very consistent because they are all on a team together, and that usually means that the figures actually have the same accessories and paint applications and colors and everything. But in this case, it's not the case, so I don't really know how that all happened. But it's a fantastic set. It is on sale on Amazon every once in a while now, which I'll be including an affiliate link to in the description if you want to pick one up for yourself. I highly recommend it. It is a fantastic set. Number 3 on my list is going to be the Turbo Red Ranger from Wave 15, which as of right now is our final wave of the Power Rangers Lightning Collection. I love this figure so much. I love it so much. Of course, TJ is a fantastic Red Ranger, one of my personal favorites. It's our last form of Tommy, technically, even though this is supposed to be TJ's version. I think the TJ head sculpt does look better than his In Space Blue releases from the past. I don't think it's perfect, but I definitely do see Selwyn Ward in there. It's not too bad. But it's the paint applications and the accessories that this figure have that bring it up so high up on this list this year. I never would have expected them to include like the basic turbo lightning sword or whatever it's called, the just kind of basic swords there. If anything, I would have expected them not to have that. So the fact that they had both swords for this guy is fantastic. The paint application on the figure itself, though, the helmet, perfect. The lines, really nice and clean. You have the arms that have like the number 1 symbol on everything. It's painted way more than I ever would have expected. I love how this figure turned out. And if you don't have it yet, I highly recommend trying to track one down. Number 2 on my list is going to be the final Lightning Collection figures that we've had thus far and possibly forever. The Hasbro PulseCon 2023 exclusive Omega Ranger set. I really like these suits, even though I haven't read the comics in many years. I've wanted figures of these guys for so many years, and the fact that we finally have them in a nice big box set, so that way they're all consistent with accessories and paint applications, is fantastic. Having that PulseCon kind of value to it, even though it's just the cost of 4 figures together, means that there's fantastic paint applications on here, really, really good details. I love the exclusive effect piece that Trini has. These are so good. I think they translated them to figures perfectly. I just wish that there was head sculpts for them, especially for Kia, because at least for the other 3, you can just find Jason, Trini, and Zach head sculpts with a bunch of other figures. But for Kia, there's really no way to do that unless you make a custom or something like that, which people have done. But overall, besides that, I adore this set. I can't believe it's still in stock on Hasbro Pulse. It's the only place you can get it. If you don't have it yet, even if you're not a comic fan, you're going to like these figures. I've seen people who have bought them who aren't necessarily Power Ranger fans, and they're like, these are good figures, and they are. They don't suffer from the loose joint problems. They're nice and smooth, not too tight. They're exactly what a Lightning Collection figure should be, maybe just not necessarily in the accessories department. And finally, my favorite figure from 2023 for the Power Rangers Lightning Collection was the Turbo Blue Centurion. Cannot believe how good this figure is. The sculpting on this figure is really good. The joints are nice and stiff. They don't feel too loose. They don't necessarily feel like they're going to break. Everything on here is just really good. I love the translucent sirens on his chest. I love the little antenna. I love the fact that you get all 3 versions of his morpher / blaster / sword. You get swappable little shin pieces for his weapon to be holstered or not holstered. You have the nice little blast effect piece. You even get his little whistle to summon his Zord. So like in the accessories department, he's perfect. He does suffer from quality control problems. Mine came with 2 of the same fist. Some people have had like not the correct holsters or the fist problem or whatever. And there has been some breakage issues on the legs. But for a figure that was a deluxe price point, this actually felt like it was worth a deluxe price point, which is why it was kind of sad to see it clearanced out at Target for like $12 a couple months ago, when everybody was calling him Dale, because that was his code name. Very, very fun figure, though. I love this figure. And it's one of those cool ones where it's just a fun, wacky RoboCop kind of thing design. So even if you're not a Power Rangers fan, you might like this figure. It's a really, really good one. I even bought 2, so I could customize one into the evil one that was in one episode. So it's fantastic. And with that is going to do it for my top 5 worst and top 10 best Lightning Collection figures of 2023. Overall, really solid year for this line. I think that there was some definitely weird choices, as usual with the Lightning Collection. Definitely some figures I would have liked to see, hence my prediction video from the last couple years. I obviously didn't do one this year because there's nothing to predict for 2024, unfortunately, but yeah, that's going to do it for the Power Rangers Lightning Collection, possibly forever. I hope it comes back someday. I really, really do. I'm still going to be making Lightning Collection content here on the channel. Huge thanks once again for all your support for the past couple years on the Lightning Collection here. And I would love to know your guys' thoughts down in the comments below on what are your favorite and least favorite figures, or anything from the Lightning Collection from 2023. Let's go ahead and talk about it in the comments below. And of course, until next time, you can follow me on Twitter at LivingRangerKey or at LightningFigPR, and I'll see you all later. To wrap up this video, I'd like to thank my $5 and above patrons: Jurassic Samurai, Maggot Alchemist, Robert Browning, Static Thunder, Brendan Overland, Maji Yellow, MCPC Studios, James Darty, Matthew Thorne, Josh Landry, Pyramidas, CBT Tesla, Cross SCV, Caboose Ed, Socket Monsters, Daniel Pica, Hella Geo, Thrasher, Jesus Prime, Louis Carnes, and Carlos Alfredo. You can support Toku Topics for as little as $1 a month on my Patreon, linked in the description below.